This is Chapter 2, Section 5, one-step equations, multiplication, and division. You're going to need three colors, highlighters, colored pencils, that type of thing, excuse me, and a highlighter. All right, so let's get started. First of all, rules for transforming an equation. What is our goal? Our goal is to isolate the variable on one side of the equation. It doesn't matter if it's on the left side or the right side, but we want to get the variable, which is the letter, A, B, C, D, X, whatever, by itself. Always perform the same operation to both sides of the equation. If you do something to one side that wasn't there to start with, you have to do it to the other side. It's called keeping your equation balanced. To undo an operation, perform its opposite operation to both sides of the equation. So if they're adding, we do the opposite. We subtract. If they're multiplying, we do the opposite. We divide. So the multiplication property of equality is if A equals B, then A times C is equal to B times C. Or if X divided by M equals N, then multiply both sides by M and it remains the same. What we can then do is cross out the M's and we're left with X is equal to M times N. Again, you're doing the same thing to both sides. As long as you're doing the same thing, you're keeping your equation balanced. So here's our first problem. -6 equals M over -2. What does it mean when you have that fraction bar? Hopefully you remember that means division. So that's M divided by -2. So what are they doing to the variable here? Well, what is the variable, first of all? Remember, we're going to keep our equation balanced. Our variable here is M. What are they doing to M? They're dividing by -2. So since they're dividing by -2, what do? The opposite of that. We multiply both sides by -2, keeping our equation balanced. There was no multiplying by -2 before, so we have to do it to both sides to keep things fair. -2 over -2 gives me a big fat 1. And we get 12 is equal to M. Remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. If the signs are the same and you're multiplying, then the answer is positive. And if we check that, if we plug that back in, and if you go 12 divided by -2, you should get -6. Problem number 2. Negative M over 55, or M divided by 55, equals 1. We're going to put our line down the equal sign. We're going to identify our variable. So highlight that variable. And you can move that negative sign anywhere you want. You can put it up top with the M. You can put it down at the bottom with the 55. You could leave it in the front, but that just makes things a little more complicated. The best place to put it is with the new number. All right, so what are they doing to the variable here? They're dividing by -55. Since they're dividing by -55, what are we going to do? The opposite of that. So what is the opposite of dividing by -55? Multiplying both sides by -55, keeping our equation balanced. The -55 over -55, anything over itself is a big fat 1. And when we get 1 times -55, signs are different and we're multiplying, that means our answer is negative. If we plug that back in, a -55 over 55 would be -1 times the negative would be a positive 1. So if we plug it back in, we should get the same answer if we're checking. Would you please pause the video at this point, and I would like you to attempt problem number 3 on your own. So pause, and when you're ready to check your answer, go ahead and start the video back up. All right, so did you put your line down the middle? Did you highlight your variable? These are things I want you to get in the habit of doing so that you know the process. You know what you're trying to do. You're trying to isolate that m and get it by itself. What are they doing to the variable here? They're dividing by -3. So since they're dividing by -3, we're going to multiply both sides by -3. What is a -3 over -3? Big fat 1. Cancels each other out, basically. And now we have 21 times -3. Signs are different. That'll give us a -63. And if we plug that back in, -63 divided by -3, signs are the same. We'd get a positive, and 63 divided by 3 is 21. Okay, hopefully you got that right. If you didn't, do you see where you made your mistake? If you didn't, make a note and we can talk about it in class. Would you please try number 4? So pause the video, try it on your own. When you're ready, restart the video. All right, did you put your line down the middle? If not, I want you to get in that habit. Did you find the variable? Where's the variable here? In this case, it's y. What are they doing to the variable? They're dividing by -21. So we're going to do the opposite and multiply both sides by -21. Why do we do that? To keep the equation balanced. Got to be fair. If you do something to one side that wasn't there before, you have to do it to the other side. What's any number over itself? A big fat 1. So that -21 over -21 cancels out. And now we have -21 times a -21. Signs are the same and we're multiplying, so that's going to give us a positive. And we get 441 for an answer. If we plug that back in, we'll end up with -21, which is what we want. Now we have the division property of equality. So if A equals B, then A divided by C is equal to B divided by C. Or if X times M equals N, then X times M equals N. We can divide both sides by M. Those cancel out, give us a big fat 1. And we get X is equal to N divided by M. So, put our line down the middle. Where's our variable here? It's the y. What's being done to the y? It's being multiplied by 8. What's the opposite of multiplying by 8? Dividing by 8. So divide both sides by 8. What is 8 over 8? Big fat 1. Anything over itself is 1. And a negative divided by a positive, signs are different. So we get -7 is equal to y. And that's our answer, which should make sense because 8 times -7 is a -56 if we check our answer. Would you try this problem on your own? Since we've already kind of done a few, I think you should be able to do this. And if you can do it in your head, that's great. You still have to show work. So pause the video and show the work for what the answer is here. Okay, put your line down the middle. What's our variable? X. What's being done to X? It's being multiplied by -3. So we divide both sides by -3. Now, one place I can see you making a mistake, especially if you do this in your head, is you may have just put 6. Okay, these cancel out, and 18 divided by a -3, signs are different, is going to give us X is equal to -6. You can check your work. -3 times -6, signs are the same. That gives us a positive 18, and we're done. Would you pause the video and please try this problem? Negative 2 times x is equal to 34. All right, put your line down the middle. Highlight your variable. That's what we want to get by itself. That's our goal, to isolate the variable. And since it's being multiplied by negative 2, we divide both sides by negative 2. That gives us a big fat 1, and we get x is equal to negative 17. And if we do negative 2 times negative 17, we do get a positive 34, which means we are correct. Would you try number 4, please? Pause the video and solve. All right, line down the middle, highlight your variable, divide both sides by 6. Anything over itself is a big fat 1. And we get negative 7 is equal to m. Okay, that's it. I want you to summarize what you've learned. So in your own words, how would you describe how to solve problems here? How to do this type of stuff? Once you're finished with that, I want you to explain your summary to your parents and see if they understand it. Then have your parents sign it, and you're done for the night. If you have any questions, write them down, and we can discuss them in the next class.